Morning hugs. Do you want to train harder, feel stronger, build more muscle, lose more fat, and totally kick your next workout in the balls? We've all heard the pitch. Be free. If you've ever been in a supplement store or perused the right forums and marketplaces on the web, you know what I'm talking about. Often in big, bold, scripty neon letters, pre-workouts. And although those claims that I just listed might seem quite outlandish and far-fetched, they're actually true. Between you and me, pre-workouts work, but not all are created equal. Choosing the right pre-workout can actually improve your performance in your training, which will help you make progress with your training over time and will actually help you build strength, build muscle, lose body fat, and yes, even kick your next workout in the balls. Right in the workout cojones. And some of the pre-workouts that you can purchase in bottles or powders actually do work really well. And hey, it's just in time for the holiday season, so if you want to go and become buff Santa Claus, now is the time. But I'm not going to suggest any specific brands today because I don't really use any specific brands of pre-workout. I prefer to make my own. Today I'm here to share with you my recipe for my own DIY at-home pre-workout drink that is hands down just as effective as any pre-workout drink that you can find on the market and like a 10th of the cost. And you know what? I can't actually say that because I've never actually done the math, but I have purchased tons of pre-workouts in the past and I have made my own for a while, and I will tell you hands down, this is way cheaper. Pinky out. And it tastes good. So, what's in the cocktail? Let's go to the kitchen. First things first, you wanna make sure you got that baby Yoda watching over you. Well, I can't prove this, but I think that it does improve my force output. Then if you really wanna get it started, you gotta have a black-eyed peas cup. Guys, you are only as good as your black-eyed peas cup. And now that we've got everything into position, the first and most important ingredient in most pre-workouts is caffeine. And yes, this is a thing that everybody is already getting and probably already abusing in their daily diets anyway. Most of the crazy sensations that happen when you drink energy drinks or that crazy new pre-workout is that you are just loading up on caffeine. That's all it is. It's like drinking 10 cups of coffee. If you do that before your workout, you're gonna be zooming. I don't even need to really elaborate on this because you know how caffeine works. It increases the energy output of your body. And it has been proven time and time again to actually increase strength, improve endurance, and help with anaerobic performance, which is non-oxygen performance. That's like the quick, fast-paced, short duration stuff. So it helps with the endurance, it helps with the quick stuff, it helps with everything. It's super energizing. And I haven't even had my daily caffeine yet, and I'm already energized. So when I drink this pre-workout, I'm gonna be ready to go. And that's an important part about getting the most out of your pre-workout. You do not want to be abusing caffeine every day. If you drink caffeine every day, your tolerance to it builds up really, really fast. Immediately upon taking your first dose, you start building up a tolerance to caffeine. That's why I recommend only drinking caffeine with your pre-workout and only taking your pre-workout like 2 to 3 times a week. Only on those days when you really need that extra edge in your training. Maybe you're doing some heavy squatting, some heavy deadlifting, some bench pressing, overhead pressing, like the big 4 lifts, or perhaps a particularly long workout or a day when you got a bad sleep. That's when you want to break out the pre-workout. And in my specific DIY pre-workout, I like to get the caffeine from Guarana simply because it's a naturally occurring caffeine. I find that it's a cognitive boost as well compared to other sources of caffeine I've tried. It really gets my mind going a little bit more. And the dose that I get per scoop in this supplement is particularly effective for me because the clinically effective doses of using caffeine as a pre-workout supplement are about 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And I like to stay on the lower end of that. So I'm right above 70 kilograms. So just multiply that by 3 and you get 220-ish. And that's exactly how much caffeine is in each scoop. And I like to stay on the lower end of the spectrum towards that 3 milligrams per kilogram. And as your tolerance builds up to caffeine over time, you might need to work your way up to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. But if you start hitting that 6 region and it's not like crazy pumps of energy, then you need to reconsider how you're using caffeine and maybe even take a month off entirely. And I'll even say that earlier this year, I cut caffeine out of my diet entirely for 30 days. This was part of a 30-day challenge and it was really revolutionary for me. And that's when I decided to start drinking decaf coffee most of the time and to only have caffeine before workouts that really needed it and to get the best bang for my buck out of caffeine so that I could be more sensitive to it. There is nothing wrong with being a lightweight, especially in terms of caffeine. And the last thing to note considering caffeine is that that's gonna kick in about 20 to 30 minutes. That's gonna be your peak. So you wanna be drinking this about 20 to 30 minutes before you're actual workout begins. So factor in any time it's going to take you to get to the gym or do your warm-up. So typically I like to have this right now, finish up this video, and then start warming up and go. All right, second ingredient that is going into this pre-workout is beta-alanine. And you'll see beta-alanine in a lot of pre-workouts, and it is actually a non-essential amino acid, which means that your body already makes beta-alanine on its own, but it works through it really fast, especially when we're doing heavy lifting of any sorts. And when most people describe what beta-alanine does, they're like, oh yeah, it helps to convert to carnitine in your body and fight up against the lactic acid buildup. But in layman's terms, so that you can actually understand it, you know that burning sensation you get when you're at the last couple reps of your set? Beta-alanine is gonna help to fight off that burning sensation and help you get those extra reps in, especially in shorter duration exercise. It's just going to help with your muscle endurance and overall power output for the entire duration of your workout. And clinically effective doses have been proven to vary pretty drastically depending on your body, but anywhere between 3 to 5 grams per day is fine. And in the form that I buy it, it's about 3 gram scoops, but I like to do a heaping scoop, so I probably do about 4 grams in my pre-workout. And you don't necessarily need to take beta-alanine in a pre-workout. You will still get the effects if you want to take subtle doses of it over time. But the reason to include it in a pre-workout is that a strange side effect of beta-alanine is the tingles. And if you've ever taken a pre-workout and gotten that tingling sensation in like your face, your hands, your arms, your biceps, your legs, that's beta-alanine hard at work. And scientists don't even really know what's happening there, but it is totally safe, although it might freak you out. So if you're prone to like panic attacks or feeling generally uncomfortable in your body when strange sensations occur, maybe stay off the beta-alanine or take it in smaller doses throughout the day, because even micro-dosing beta-alanine to get to your 3 to 5 grams per day is totally fine. I just like it in the pre-workout because I do kind of like the tingles. Something about the tingles just makes you want to lift heavy things. I'm tingling and mingling. And ingredient 3, the next thing going into this pre-workout, is creatine monohydrate. Don't be afraid of creatine. It is the most researched molecule in all of sports nutrition. The evidence is super clear. This is like hands down a supplement that will just help you improve your strength and performance over time. It just does. It improves strength, muscle growth, muscle recovery, and overall health in a myriad of different ways. You can look into tons of different studies, but from what I've read, I would recommend creatine to anybody that doesn't have an allergic reaction to it, which is a very, very small percentage of people. And you might be afraid of creatine because you've read on the internet that it causes bloating, but that's not a problem anymore. That used to be a problem in like the 80s and 90s when creatine wasn't that clean. So just make sure you're getting a decent quality creatine, but you certainly can because it's totally cheap. Get yourself a monohydrate, preferably a German one, and you're good to go. And clinically effective dose for creatine among most people is about 5 grams per day. And before I move on, I will note that there is no reason to include creatine in your pre-workout, and there actually is evidence to support it might be more effective to include creatine in your post-workout. However, this difference between taking creatine pre and post-workout is not a game changer. It's not going to change your life, and it's just not that big of a deal to me. And if I'm already making a supplement cocktail and drinking it down, I'm just going to throw in my creatine then because I don't want to have to worry about doing it later and potentially forget about it. Those minor gains are not a big deal to me. I'm going to focus on the big rocks of physique and performance enhancement. And if timing your creatine consumption ever becomes more important than just showing up, then you are doing something wrong. Let's move on to the next one. Ingredient number 4, salt. So that super electrolyte enhanced drink that you're buying is no better than just a high quality salt. So you want to toss about a half teaspoon of salt in your pre-workout drink, but you want to make sure it is of a high quality and has a really high mineral content. And the best salt that I know of, it's totally unrefined. It comes from a mine in Utah and it's just got an amazing mineral profile, is Redmond's Real Salt. And Redmond's Real Salt has an excellent balance of sodium and potassium, which throwing in just a half teaspoon of the right salt will help with hydration, will help with blood flow, will help to prevent muscle cramping, and a lot more. I just highly recommend that you don't use like iodized table salt. And as long as you don't have a health condition which makes you need to cut back on sodium, and as long as you don't eat a diet that is primarily processed foods, then you don't really need to be concerned about how much real salt you're adding to your food and drinks. Overdosing on sodium for most people is nearly impossible. And that's all the dry ingredients, so now it's time to throw in our liquid. I like to use seltzer water because I'm kind of spoiled, but you can totally get away with just using regular water, or if you want some extra carbs before your workout, you can cut it with a fruit juice or use some Gatorade, really whatever you want. Now it's time to throw in that last step, which is the least important, but perhaps most enjoyable, flavoring, or zhuzhing it up. This drink is gonna taste like total garbage unless you zhuzh it up. You gotta add some flavor. You can throw whatever you want in this thing, but here's what I typically do. I like to throw in apple cider vinegar. Crazy health claims aside, I think a cap of apple cider vinegar just tastes delicious. Sometimes I'll even throw a little bit of spiciness in it, like a little bit of cayenne powder, although I did not today. Then you can throw in some lemon or lime juice. Today I actually had half of a fresh squeezed lemon, which is a nice touch. Then you definitely want some sweetness to it to balance out that acidity and that sodium content. And my go-to sweetener is liquid stevia. So you can toss in a couple drops of stevia, and I do recommend cutting back on like sweet sugar bombs in your diet, but in a pre-workout, just kind of gets you in the zone. Having that kick to the face kind of gets me hyped for a workout. So I go pretty heavy. I do like 10 drops of stevia. And then you stir it up, throw in some ice, pinky out.
It's fergalicious. I just missed my mouth.
It's a good drink. And there are often things in these pre-workout drinks or pre-workout powders that are effective that I do not include in my own DIY pre-workout, simply because I just don't care enough to buy them. Like I said, I'm focusing on the big rocks. I'm focusing on the ingredients that have the most research and evidence behind them, but also the ingredients that more so align with my goals. So here are some things that you might want to put into a pre-workout drink that you don't necessarily need. And if you're buying a store-bought pre-workout that has these, that's totally okay. Honorable mention number 1, theanine. So theanine and caffeine go really well together because theanine has been proven to help reduce stress. And it also improves your focus, mood, and even your blood flow, so it's a great accompaniment to any pre-workout, though it's just not enough for me to want to buy it and worry about another supplement on my shelf. Honorable mention 2, citrulline. This comes in the form of L-citrulline and citrulline malate. You'll see it in a lot of things. I think it's in this Rain energy drink. Yeah, it's in there. And what citrulline does is just generally improves muscle endurance and helps with soreness, but it just seems like if you're also having creatine and beta-alanine that you can kind of let that one slip to the side, so that's another one I just don't worry about. Honorable mention 3, Yohimbine. From what I've read, Yohimbine is like the best certified fat burner that actually works. And it actually specifically works to help with stubborn fat. And yes, stubborn fat is a real thing. Certain fat molecules on your body are harder to shrink because they just generally have less blood flow and have been there for longer durations of time. And there's a bunch of science behind it that you can look into. I'm not going to dive too deep into stubborn fat, but Yohimbine is actually proven to help eliminate stubborn fat and use it for exercise. However, it's also kind of dangerous and can be overconsumed, and the side effects can be real and negative, so I don't recommend people take it unless you're very careful about it. And I'm not on some sort of fat loss phase, so I'm not worried about Yohimbine now or probably ever. Though you could potentially use it in moderation, but I would say be very, very careful and do your research. Honorable mention 4, L-Carnitine. L-Carnitine, another supplement that has been proven to help with muscle recovery, and I found that it's actually in this Monster Zero. And yes, it really is going to help improve muscle recovery, so if you have the budget and want to take L-Carnitine, go for it, though I don't think it's a lot better than having an overall high-protein, healthy diet. And those are the honorable mentions that could be in a pre-workout that you might want to include, and then there are some things that you totally want to avoid. So if you see a pre-workout containing any of these following things, I definitely just question it. BCAAs. Hands down, the most overrated supplement in the fitness industry today. BCAAs, just no. 9 times out of 10, you don't need them unless you are under-eating protein, which is one of the big rocks of fitness. So eat your protein and stop worrying about BCAAs. You don't need them. Maybe if you're doing early morning fasted training and want a little bit of extra protein synthesis going on in your muscles, but that's small. Don't worry about BCAAs. Just don't. B vitamins. Just get your B vitamins in your daily diet or take a supplement. It just has no purpose being in your pre-workout. Sorry. Proprietary blends. Beware of anything with a proprietary blend. And this is when you see a pre-workout where the first ingredient is like Muscle Fuel Matrix or Super Gains Complex. And this is just so that they can bundle ingredients together so that they can list them at the top of the label. So all those ingredients that I mentioned earlier that actually have research behind them that actually do work, companies will put tiny amounts of these in their pre-workouts and they'll bundle them together into this muscle building matrix so that they make up a majority of the weight, when in reality there's just a little bit of each one in there, but when they're bundled together they can be listed first on the ingredient label. So companies that do that, that do those proprietary blends, are often lying about what's in their supplements and are trying to make you think you're getting more than you're actually getting. That's why I like to make my own pre-workout, so I know exactly what's going into it. Beware of those proprietary blends. Clinically ineffective doses of key ingredients. Just like I said about the proprietary blends, a lot of supplement companies out there will say they have things like beta-alanine in it, when in only has like 1.5 grams of beta-alanine. You don't want to stray below like 3 grams. So if you see tiny servings of beta-alanine or citrulline malate or creatine or caffeine or any of the things I mentioned, there are thresholds to these things and everybody has different limits. But if companies are trying to short sell you on things just to put the ingredient on the bottle, beware. And lastly, anything with a crazy long ingredient label. I know this is kind of hippy-dippy and woo-woo, but essentially the less ingredients that you can put into your body on a regular basis, the better. And your body is a power horse. You can take down artificial sweeteners and thickening agents and gelatins and a bunch of other things that are hard to pronounce but easy to consume. And I don't have the research to back this up, but generally the less ingredients that you can put into your body, the better. And that's why I choose to make my own pre-workout and drink it out of this fancy Black Eyed Peas cup. And I know that you're out there watching this video looking for all the best supplements to help boost your performance and reach your goals faster, but how about a new perspective? How about we try to boost your performance and reach your goals with as few supplements as possible? You see, that's why I felt like I should include some honorable mentions in here, because maybe you look into one of those supplements and it's better for you than it is for me. And that's the thing, supplements are supplemental. You do not need them at all. Or if you are gonna use them, focus on not abusing them and taking the big ones like whey protein and creatine and beta-alanine and caffeine and using them correctly. But at the end of the day, you don't need any of them. You just need to put in work. You just need the big pillars. We only have so much effort and willpower to put into our personal fitness and our lives in general. Don't waste that effort and willpower on supplements. Put that effort and willpower into your performance, into your training, into your diet. You put too much mental energy into figuring out what goes into the epic pre-workout, and then you don't have as much mental energy to help you make the best food choices possible that are gonna fuel your body and emotional being to your best ability. Focus on training smart, eating well, and living an overall healthy lifestyle. Buy a few supplements and then stop buying supplements. Instead of that next new supplement, go buy a date night for you and your girl, or go buy a new toy for your dog. The emotional reward that you get from sustaining healthy relationships and living a fulfilled life is going to help out your training more than all of the BCAAs in the world. Rant over, so let me know if you try this drink out. Let me know what your favorite Black Eyed Peas song is, and let me know if you have any questions about any of the supplements that I listed today. I didn't go into too much detail with them because I am recording a video a day every day for the next 30 days. So without further ado, let's suck this thing down and get to work.